Stargate SG-1 actor Michael Shanks, who famously played Daniel Jackson, has admitted that Prime Video, Amazon MGM Studios, botched The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. He made these comments in an interview with Dial the Gate while he was reacting and sharing his thoughts on the newly announced Stargate series that will be produced by Amazon MGM Studio and is being showrun by Martin Giro, and also has Brad Wright, the original SG-1 showrunner, and longtime showrunner and executive producer Joseph Malazzi attached to it. Both Wright and Malazzi obviously being consulting producers. So this is what Shanks had to say about The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, admitting that it is not good and that Amazon MGM Studios failed The Lord of the Rings, failed J.R. Tolkien, and failed the fans by not giving the original creators first crack at it. Let's take a listen.
You know, there's some fan out there that was screaming, yeah, what we want is a whole new vision. So hire J.J. Abrams to bring, do Stargate. Because everybody that I talked to in the fan world was always saying we got to have, the original creators to at least give them first crack at this. And lo and behold, we find out that they're doing just that. And how often does it happen, with bigger properties like Lord of the Rings, that things get rolled out with the original visionaries being ignored that don't necessarily turn out so well. And I'm not saying that everything's like that. I mean, but
so there you go. Obviously, you got a little bit of his reaction there. Kind of makes that body gesture indicating that it's not very good. And then he makes it pretty clear that it didn't turn out really well. Now, obviously, it wasn't to the point that my favorite response to The Rings of Power was from Bernard Hill, who famously played King Theoden. And he made it very clear he had zero interest in watching the show and had no interest in even making a cameo in the show. This is from Metro. This is back in 2022. He said, no, not interested. It's a money-making venture, and I am not interested in watching that or being in it. Good luck to them and all that stuff, but it's not like the real thing. And I think that's exactly what Michael Shanks is kind of talking about there. If you brought in someone totally new, if you brought in a J.J. Abrams, like he's actually taking shots at Star Wars too, right? Because that's what they did with Star Wars. They brought in J.J. Abrams to do Star Wars. We know that they refused to do George Lucas's script treatments. They purchased them, shoved them in a vault, never to be seen again. And they went forward with this sequel trilogy, which is now viewed as an abomination by many people, including myself. So Michael Shanks taking shot at Star Wars and Rings of Power here. So you gotta kind of appreciate it. But anyways, back to the point there. He's pointing out that if you don't have the original creators, or at least people that are going to try to stay true to that original source material, be faithful to it, what are you even trying to do in the first place, right? And I think he makes that point pretty clear there. And we've seen throughout the years now that when they do bring in these people, they do bring in people like J.J. Abrams, they do bring in people like Patrick McKay, one of the showrunners for the Rings of Power. It turns into a hodgepodge of whatever they wanted to do instead of actually staying true to the original source material, and instead of actually trying to create something that, as Tolkien likes to say, give you that gleam of evangelium, provide or at least try to attain that eucatastrophe that he talks about in his essay on fairy stories. So Michael Shanks, the latest actor to come out against the Rings of Power, and then also throwing some shade there against J.J. Abrams and Lucasfilm and Star Wars. At least that's kind of maybe how I'm reading into it. Maybe reading into it a little bit too much there, but I think that is kind of fair to talk about there. Because what else? What are the properties that J.J. Abrams come in and take over? I guess Star Trek as well. They did talk about that previously too. So maybe that is what he's referring to there too. But again, same criticisms with Star Trek as with Star Wars. And again, same guy doing it, right? So anyways, that is what he had to say there. I'm still on the fence. This Martin Giro guy, since he did his time at Stargate, has done a number of other things. Specifically, He did that Quantum Leap show, which was extraordinarily woke, and I think was canceled after its second season. It was pushing gender ideology, etc. So that has me very kind of nervous about what is going to happen with this Stargate revival, especially given the fact that he is the showrunner. But obviously, he has made, I think, some good decisions bringing Joseph Malazzi in. I think that is a good person to have on your team. Maybe he can push back against some of that nonsense that might try to creep in and say, no, this isn't what we're supposed to be doing. This is not true to Stargate. I think he really has an understanding of what Stargate is. I did a whole interview with him over on Phantom Pulse back in September, where he kind of talked about how what's missing in sci-fi in general is kind of the optimism that you used to see from original Star Trek, obviously in those original Stargate SG-1 episodes as well. So I definitely feel like having him on board is a good sign. But again, he's not the guy in charge. Martin Giro, however you say his name, is the guy in charge. And again, he has pushed gender ideology into shows that he's done within the last few years, specifically with Quantum Leap. So still on the fence on what to expect, waiting to see more, but I am cautiously optimistic about this and to see what they do. Obviously, I think they have some big challenges ahead of them, given the fact that it will not be a reboot. Giro said that is not the case. Obviously, there is all the technology that they've acquired throughout like the SG-1 era, the Atlantis era. So that might be a little bit more difficult for them to kind of like just send a squad like SG-1 off, given the fact that they have all of this technology that they have now acquired. So we'll see how they do that. But I hope they can kind of strike a balance between episodic and serialized storytelling like we saw with SG-1. I think that is also something that is missing and something that Malazzi talked to me about is how episodic content is still doing really well, especially when you're looking at shows like Tracker and things like that that are on cable outside of the streamers where it's more serialized content. So hopefully maybe Amazon maybe switches paths here, gets back into that episodic content. Because again, when you look at what's doing really well on streamers, like you have the big hits like Stranger Things, etc. But you look at a lot of the stuff that is consistently performing well over time, a lot of it is stuff that is episodic. You can just kind of tune in, watch a episode, tune out, and it's a complete story from beginning to end. You're not having to binge watch 10, 12 episodes in order to get a complete story. So we'll see what's going on, but interesting comments here from Daniel Jackson actor Michael Shanks. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.
Why would you be afraid of the people? Why are you not afraid of God instead of man?